Hey guys of YouTube land, we'll be working on this truck today. We'll be putting front brakes and rotors on it. Kind of go through the steps I go through to get all this done. It's a 2016 Ford F-150. It's got the 3.5 V6 non-turbo motor. It's kind of like my daily driver now. And just noticed from driving it that it had a little bit of buffering when you go to put your brakes on the front. I've already took the one side off. There's the rotor that I took off the driver's side to kind of bump through it to where I would kind of know to instruct you guys what to do. They're both warped and the pads are worn, so I'm just going to put everything on. Ceramic pads, brand new rotors, and this is kind of the process I go through to do it. First off, you want to make sure you secure the vehicle. Always put your parking brake on. I'm working on the front brakes on this video, so I'm not going to be doing anything to the rear brakes. The park brakes on this vehicle work off the rear. Next, we want to remove the hubcap. Got a little indexing hole there to stick a screwdriver in. Should just pop right off. See, it's held on by the lugs. Slides over the top of them. Whenever I'm working on something, I always leave like the hydraulic jack under there. And I put a jack stand under there just to kind of double secure it. Safety first. Next, we're going to be removing the lug nuts. I'm using a 21mm socket on my Craftsman impact wrench, electric. I'll come back after I get that done. This is what it looks like unassembled with the wheel off. As you can tell, it's gotten kind of hot here in the center. I think they used to pull a trailer with this without trailer brakes on it. And I think that kind of made the front brakes heat up a little bit more because you use about 70-30, 70% front, 30% rear. So they take the brunt of everything when you have improper braking and you're hauling a bunch of weight. So checked around. I was going to get these rotors turned. It's about $33, $35 a piece to have them turned. And ended up purchasing this one off Rock Auto for about 30 bucks. It's coated, edge coated and center coated to keep rust down. Don't live in a salty environment, but I just thought it'd be nice to put something on there that maybe wouldn't rust right off the bat. It looks like these might have been coated from the factory and they're just now starting to rust, and this vehicle's 7 years old. So anywho, next step is taking the caliper off. I'll kind of show what I do when I do that. Next, I'm going to remove the actual caliper bolts that holds the brake caliper on, the caliper bracket. I'm using my impact. You have to be really careful with this. Loosening them is not as bad as tightening them. If you tighten them up too much, you can break the bolts. So just be really careful when doing this. You may actually want to use a pull bar or a wrench. I've done it enough to where I kind of know what to do here. But yeah, this is kind of the process I use here. There's one on the bottom. See if I can get it to where you can see that. There's the one on the bottom, 13mm. Take that one out, and the caliper is loose now. The next step you want to do is take out the brake pads. It's not very hard to do. Northern vehicle may be a little tougher, but there's the rear one. And sometimes you have to use a screwdriver. Get it separated. Just comes out, it slides in a bracket right here. A little clip, I guess is what you would call that. And you do have a front and rear, and you can't use the front for the rear, rear for the front on these. It's one way or the other on this deal. You have to use the front for the front, rear for the rear. It has the two little bitty indentions on the top, or cutouts on the top for the pistons to touch against on the back side of the caliper. So Can't put them in backwards. It may allow you to at first, but it's not going to work, and I don't think they'll work front to the rear, rear to the front. So anywho, next step is, got my caliper bracket hung right there. Don't ever let it hang from the hose. Always support it if at all possible. It's got a little crook in it right there, but it's being held by this coat hanger. I found a little hole right here in the frame to hang it from, so I hung it from that, just to kind of keep the pressure off the hose itself. I may actually adjust that up a little bit to get a little more pressure off of it. As you can tell, it's dangling freely. So next step is to take these bolts out here. I'll come back after I get those, show you the result of that. Yeah, the next step will be to remove the rotor. As you can tell, it's kind of rusted here in the center, where it has contact. I guess it doesn't have anti-seize on it in between here and there. It does have it on the studs, but it doesn't have it on the hub. So you have to apply a little bit of force. The other side, I had to kind of do the same thing. This rotor I'm throwing away, so I'm going to scrap. So it doesn't matter. Normally you won't hit this like that with a hammer, but anywho, I'm going to apply a little pressure to it, tap it around and spin it, tap it, spin it, tap it, spin it, tap it, and it should come off, and I'll come back when I get that done. Next step, whenever you get it back on there, get the new one on there, a lot of times they package these in oil, because they're probably coming from across the pond, the big pond, overseas. So they're inside of a bag, and they do it to keep the rust down. As you can tell, they've got it cross-cut to keep the pattern from forming on the shoes, the new shoes. So the next process you want to do is take it and just kind of take you some brake clean. Some people take starting fluid, but brake clean works the best. But you want to get all the oil off there. Oil is not good touching your brake pads. Brake clean, this is a non-chlorinated premium formula. It takes all the oil off there, and just take it and kind of wipe it down. Do both sides. Make sure you get it all off, and this will keep your brakes from crystallizing, keep them from having a real bad smell. I mean, you're going to have a little bit of smell when you're breaking these shoes in, but nothing like you would if you didn't get the oil off there. So I'm doing the front side, I'm going to do the back side. When I come back, we'll be putting it back together. Next step is putting in these bolts and putting in the caliper bracket, reinstalling it. You have a 21mm head here, 21mm head there. So I'm going to cinch those down and come back after I get that done, but that's the bracket after it gets back on. Next step is you got to collapse your pistons back in. This has got a 2-piston system on it, 2-piston caliper I should say. So I just take the old pad, take a C-clamp, I drive 1 piston at a time back in. It's hard to do them both because you have a little tab in the center here that kind of prevents that from happening. So like I said, just keep your old brake pads around, use them to push the piston back in. That's always what I've done. I'll come back after that's done. We'll show you how to reinstall the brake pads. All right, here's what it looks like with the 2 pads installed back on the caliper bracket. They just kind of push in, push out. The rear one has the 2 ears on it, made to fit the 2 piston calipers, or the pistons on the caliper, I should say. So then the next step is to take the caliper, slide it back over here, and then re-bolt. So I'll come back and kind of show what that looks like afterwards. All right, here's what the caliper looks like back on. You have a bolt that goes here. Goes there. You have one that goes on the bottom here, down there where you can see it. Sometimes it's a little difficult when the pistons are pushed in, has nothing to resist against. There we go. Just have to kind of find the hole and get the bolt started. You always want to do that instead of just trying to force it in, because then you'll cross thread. Don't want to do that, so you just tighten them down. I'm going to use a wrench to tighten them back in with. Probably not the impact, because don't want to take a chance on breaking this bolt. I don't know what grade it is, but it's probably not meant to take a whole bunch of abuse this is what it looks like reassembled. Got the caliper back on, tightened down, caliper bracket, new rotor installed. So all we got left to do now is install the tire. Pretty self-explanatory. Plus there's a thunderstorm coming, so I got to kind of cut it short. But one thing you will notice when you get back in the vehicle from putting on pads, such as I've done today, when you mash the brake pedal, it's going to go all the way to the floor. So you got to pump the brake pedal back up. Once you push the pistons back in, they've got to come back in and make contact with the pads. That's just the fluid going back inside the caliper. But don't get in and throw it in reverse and mash the brakes, expect to stop right away. You always do that little test run before you actually get in there and try to take off with it. So anyway, hope this helps some of you guys out. If you like some of the videos I do, I know I'm not doing them on a regular basis like some folks are. Try to step that up a little bit, but you know, definitely subscribe, comment. If you see anything I'm doing wrong, this is a learning experience for me, just like it is anybody else. You know, feel free, you know, to leave a comment. I'm not going to answer anything mean naturally, but you know, anything to help anybody else out that might be doing the same job. But anyway, that's going to be it for the video today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.